Well, welcome everybody. This is Wealth and Wisdom with Stuart J. Spivak. You can connect with Stuart J. Spivak at spivakfinancial.com or call in at 888-477-4825. Stuart, always good to be with you.
Great to see you again, my friend.
Here we go, Masters Week.
It is. I'm all ready to go.
You and I were there last year.
We were this time last year. Amazing.
And we're both wondering now this year why we're podcasting and not there. It's an unbelievable place.
Oh, it is. Like I've told many people, you have to see it to believe it.
TV does not do it justice.
TV does not do it justice.
It's Disneyland for adults.
It's something special for sure. It is definitely a bucket list kind of an item.
And then how do they keep those prices down on the food like that?
I mean, that really is iconic also. And I said the whole time I was there last year, even if they tripled the prices, it would still be inexpensive.
Totally. I guess they get you when you stand in line for half the day getting in to get your swag, because all of a sudden I've got relatives and friends that find out you're there and you got the list. Somehow they never reimburse you for that cost. They like to come pick up their swag item, but the Venmo doesn't come through.
No, it doesn't come through, of course.
So, hey, this is a great series that we're kicking off. There's a lot of buzz. I feel like there's, every time you turn on Facebook, you see an ad, you're getting an invite to a steak dinner. Roth conversion seems to be at the heart of what people are talking about. And again, talking about a timely subject. I think that there's a lot to go on talking about Roth conversions and why Roth conversions today. But many people don't understand that there's a lot. This isn't just a simple decision to make, right?
No, that is very true. It has to be a very well thought out decision, because you're essentially raising your hand, volunteering to pay taxes now versus continuing to kick that proverbial can down the road. So,
well, let's jump into some of the basics, because I think it's worth the time for our listeners. This is a whole series. So if you are liking, subscribing, sharing, stay tuned, watch the next series. This will all kind of mesh together to walk us through our story. I'm going to start with traditional IRA versus Roth IRA. Kind of walk us through the basics of the two types of monies, or two types of IRAs.
Sure. Well, traditionally, let's talk traditional IRA versus Roth, right? A traditional IRA, money usually goes in pre-tax, so that allows somebody to essentially reduce their taxable income today. The money grows tax deferred, and then once money is eventually withdrawn after age 59 and a half, typically, it is taxable as ordinary income. The Roth IRA, when you put money into a Roth, there is no tax deduction, so it does not give you any immediate tax savings today. Like a traditional IRA, the money also grows tax deferred. And the benefit of the Roth IRA is that when that money is eventually withdrawn, it is 100% tax-free. So those are the basics, and given a choice, we ask people all the time, if you had a choice to have all of your money in a traditional IRA versus all of your money in a Roth IRA, which would you choose? I mean, that's a very easy decision. You would choose a Roth IRA because it would not be subject to taxes.
Yeah, I think of it as like a farmer, right? Do you want to pay tax on the seed or on the harvest?
That's the perfect way to look at it.
And so funny, everybody says, well, that's that's the seed. Yet so many have been putting money in, working so hard. And by the way, really there's no education, right? You get out of school, you go to work, and you finally land what would be a career for yourself or job. And you get introduced to the 401k or the 403b or the 457 plan, all these different, depending on what your work is. And this concept of deferring and building a retirement, the onus is shifted on us. So you and I learned Financial Planning 101 that normal people were going to retire with really three buckets of money, right? And those were Social Security was going to pay into us, some sort of pension plan that was going to give us secure income, and then lastly, us, how we were going to fund that.
That's right, personal savings.
And personal savings. So here we are, we're working, we're growing, we're building this tax deferred bucket, and nobody really, I don't know about you, but growing up, I didn't learn what a Roth was. I didn't learn that that was something that was out there that you could also be contributing to and building. It was always about deferring and growing, for later down the road. Little did we know that really we were slowly growing a problem too at the same time. So talk a little bit about what that kind of growing problem is that you see for people that have solely really focused their retirement on the tax deferred IRA.
On a traditional pre-tax IRA. It really is, what you're saying is on point from a standpoint of most people don't realize the tax time bomb that they are building up. And when I say time bomb, we talk all the time to clients about the little dollars add up to big dollars over time. Mm-hmm. So we are seeing people with record 401k balances, $600,000, $800,000, $1 million, $1 million, $2 million or more in their traditional IRA. What they tend not to realize is that when they want to start taking that money out, it will all be taxed as ordinary income. So then the question always becomes, do you think tax rates will be higher in the future or lower? And then, of course, it leads us always into a conversation about our government and our federal deficit and all the issues. And we know how good our government is of managing money and whatnot. I mean, we live on a credit card here in the United States. So most people feel, as I do, is that taxes are on sale now. So doesn't it make sense, or does it make sense to forego the tax deduction today in a traditional IRA, and then for the benefit of having all of the growth on that money over time also to be tax-free, right? Because when somebody really puts a pencil to it, and we walk people through this all the time when we meet with them, is that there really is not a great tax benefit from getting the tax deduction today, because there really is no tax savings when you're just kicking that can down the road. You are going to pay those taxes. It's just a matter of when. And when you have a traditional IRA or now a big, large traditional 401k, those taxes are gigantic.
Yeah, and there's a lot of structure to it. I've heard you say in a lot of your public speaking, you talk about disinheriting the IRS. And you made this comment one time. I was sitting in the back of the room listening to you at one of our educational events, talking about when you have an IRA, you have a business partner.
That's right.
And talk a little bit about that, because most people don't know what they're doing when they're building that,
Yeah, I mean, it really is true. And think about it. I mean, you have a silent partner, okay, that, you basically get to decide how your money is invested. Hopefully you make good decisions, right? We help people to make great decisions with their money. And the money, you decide how conservative or aggressive you want to be. And that now you get to a point in time where you either stop working, or you're slowing down, or now you're quote unquote retired. And of course, retirement means different things to different people. But now the question is, what does the tax situation look like? And we all know you can only spend after tax dollars, okay? So the partnership that the IRS has is, we don't know what tax rates are going to be in the future. So that really is the question. Do you think that tax rates will be higher in the future or lower in the future? Well, most people are saying higher. I believe they will also be higher, okay? So
I haven't heard of a room that hasn't said that.
nobody says that. And then it's why are we why are we taking this small tax deduction today for the uncertainty of tomorrow? Okay. And again, it's really a balance, and I'm not saying it's a one size fits all situation. Oftentimes we are telling, clients that they should start sooner rather than later, putting more into the Roth versus the pre-tax. There are benefits to having, tax deductions today.
Sure.
Versus, no tax deduction today. So again, this is why we exist today, to provide people advice and counsel and lead them along this journey.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to bring this back out to a bigger picture that maybe most don't know who's watching or listening to this. You're really a second generation financial services planner.
Yes.
And so you were taught at a really young in your life, building into your career and watching your dad. I don't even know the number of, Americans that have retired safer from the Spivak financial family. Let's just say it that way, right?
Sure. Yep.
So you've watched for a long time. This is one piece of an overall plan. And a lot of people want to know when you ask them, I know you ask this all the time when you talk about kind of getting down your retirement mountain. Do you want a probable or a predictable outcome when
That's
it
right.
comes to your retirement?
That's right.
And what do most people say?
Right. They want predictable.
They want predictable.
That's right.
Now, when you have that IRA and you are going to kick the can, I like how you said that, kick the can down the road, then you're not wanting predictable because you have to make assumptions. You have to make a bunch of assumptions about your retirement. And kicking the can down the road could lead to RMDs. Talk to us a little bit about required minimum distributions. When does that kick in? What do we need to know about RMDs? Because again, I think that this is down to penalties. People don't really understand or know. People know they've built this bucket of money that at some point they have to deal with. They don't know when that decision needs to be made and what the structure is. This is part of that partnership with the IRS.
That's right.
What do RMDs mean to us?
So RMDs stand for required minimum distributions. And the IRS essentially says to all of us that have retirement accounts that traditionally that you have to wait until you're 59 and a half years old before you can touch your money without the 10% penalty. Of course, when I say traditionally, we specialize in IRS Rule 72T, which helps people to access their pre-tax monies prior to 59 and a half for whatever reason that may be. We do have a lot of people that retire at 50 or 51, 52, 53, long before they're able to take out that money penalty-free. But that's on a case-by-case basis. And of course, we counsel people in that area, and we are the nationwide go-to for that specialized area of planning. But traditionally, 59 and a half is when you can start withdrawing money from a traditional IRA or an old 401k without the 10% early withdrawal penalty. But to your question about required minimum distributions, today at age 73, whether you like it or not, you must start taking out what is known as your required minimum distribution. And that calculation is done every December 31st, whatever the account value is, depending upon your age, there is a certain percentage or a factor that you must now calculate and withdraw. What we are seeing now, people all of a sudden who were 60 and then they blinked and now they're 70, and then next thing you know, they're 73, and it's time to take these distributions. And by the way, The RMD age is going to be eventually set under our current law at age 75. So it will be going up from 73 over time here. But here we are today at age 73. And look, if you've built up a substantial 401k, $1.5 million, $2 million, $2.5 million, $3 million, $3.5 million, $4 million or more, that required minimum distribution may be more income than you want or need. So therefore, the government now is saying, hey, it's time to pay the piper. So if your required minimum distribution is $200,000 a year, whether you like it or not, you must take out $200,000 a year. Had that money been in a Roth IRA, you could take out that same $200,000 and pay no tax. But because it's pre-tax money and you had the benefit of the tax deduction early on, you would now have to pay taxes in the highest tax bracket, your ordinary income bracket, for that entire $200,000. And that's what we oftentimes see with people is that, they don't need all that income oftentimes. And they're like, why do I have to take this out? Well, that's the law. That's the rules. Okay. And not taking out whatever that required minimum distribution is also subjecting people to an IRS penalty. Because if you don't take out the minimum, then you get on what we say is the IRS's mailing list. And this is not a mailing list that you want to be on.
Nobody wants to be on. Yeah, we see it a lot. People come to our events. This is almost like a news flash, and really successful people that have been successful in their careers for many, many years. But, look, nobody's talking to people about this. And gosh, now you're getting to a plan. Now you need structure. People want probable versus predictable. People want that predictable stream of income, mailbox money. They want to be able to do the things, the charitable things, or travel and all the stuff that they want to do in their retirement. People don't want to have to manage and make sure which buckets of money. And this is all that really strategy and your buckets of how you look at retirement planning. This is where that area of expertise really comes in. So as this is a series, we're going to dig into RMDs here and what the plans and challenges are of those, almost like a chain reaction. What are the chain reactions of RMDs into planning? But I wanted to kind of close out this first episode of the 101 with a little bit about Spivak Financial and how you do those different buckets. So we've kind of got really into the weeds about tax deferral versus tax-free today. We're setting the stage for this. But what does that mean to the overall planning and how you kind of look at helping people?
Sure. Well, you alluded to it earlier, Mark, where we use the analogy of climbing the mountain, right, when it comes to people's personal financial journey, which is what our industry calls the accumulation stage, right, where you could be working from the time you're in your 20s all the way through your 60s. You could have 40 years of climbing the proverbial financial mountain. And what we tell people is when you are, in the retirement red zone, when you're 1 to 3 years, 2 to 4 years, 3 to 5 years away from retirement, you must start thinking differently. And then once you make it to the top of the mountain, we ask the question, is the hike over? No, the hike is not over. Why is the hike not over? Well, now you have to get down the mountain. And I don't know if you know this. I actually know you know this. We tell people, I don't know if you know this, but more people die or perish on the way down Mount Everest than they do climbing to the top. So more people, the most dangerous part of the hike is coming down the proverbial financial mountain. It is certainly true at Mount Everest. So what our job is to help our clients to safely get down the proverbial financial mountain. We are the Sherpa, if you will, that knows where the slip and falls are, where the icy patches are, where people are falling to their financial deaths. And yes, because of things like we talk about all the time, sequence of returns, and not having a proper bucket strategy, or what we call asset location strategy, is where people also find themselves in a lot of trouble. So you asked a question about, different buckets and whatnot. Let me just simplify, and I know we'll jump into this more. Think about all of your money in 3 different buckets, and ideally you want to have 3 different buckets of money. We call this asset location planning. This is very different than asset allocation. Asset allocation is what percentage of your money should be in stocks, what percentage of your money should be in bonds, what percentage of your money should be in cash.
Sure.
Asset location planning is very simply, a taxable bucket. Think about your brokerage accounts, your taxable account that throws off dividends and perhaps other forms of income. Then you have your tax deferred bucket of money, which typically would be your 401k, IRA, 457, and whatnot. And then you have your tax-free bucket of money, which is where the Roth IRA falls in under the tax-free bucket. Properly structured life insurance and other vehicles would fall into that tax-free bucket. So you have taxable money, tax-deferred money, and tax-free money. And when we are planning out an income plan for somebody, ideally, we'd like to see our clients have money in all 3 buckets so we can essentially keep them in the lowest marginal tax bracket when they retire or when they start taking income, which will automatically put them in the lowest effective tax bracket. Marginal and effective are very different, and this is one of the things that we do.
This has been Wealth Wisdom with Stuart J. Spivak. If you're thinking about wanting to get a second opinion, if you're wanting to have a deeper conversation on making sure that you have that sustainability, the clarity, and the confidence in your retirement, go to spivakfinancial.com or call us at 888-477-4825. This has been a great show. I'm looking forward to our next series of these. And subscribe, share with your friends, get that knowledge. Knowledge is power, and stay tuned. More to come.
Thank you, my friend.
Securities and advisory services offered through Centaurus Financial Incorporated, a registered broker/dealer member FINRA, and SIPC, a registered investment advisor. Centaurus Financial Incorporated and Spivak Financial Group are not affiliated.